Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Big Sunday Show. What a weekend! Another another crazy weekend where we were made to work, weren't we, for 3 points? Um, yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was ever going to be a comfortable ride, was it? So to get 3 points, really good. And certainly City dropping points. But look, welcome to Cannon Fodder TV. I've got three debutants on the Sunday show. A couple of familiar faces. Eltel's probably going to sing us a song. I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm not sure if he is or not, but we never know. Um, Alex is there down below, and Richard, Arsenal TV. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for inviting me on the show for tonight. And yeah, massive 3 points for today, which was hard, very hard deserved, but way to end the weekend.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Tell, how are you?
No, I'm good. I think I said, I was in the sports bar along the my mate Tony, the guy that lives on the podium. He's got a beautiful view when he opens his Adam statue, and he said, "I'll meet you in this pub." Anyway, as you can imagine, full of gooners, and when we went 1-0 down, but after that it was just the crescendo of two goals in time added on. Grown men and grown fellas as well, all jumping in, and so yeah, it was a fantastic game. Of course, if Odegaard had scored a bit earlier on, we wouldn't have had that dramatic, and he really does have to get his shooting boots sorted out. I'm sure he does. But the game, and I was saying to my mate Tony, this could be because if we'd have lost, and if City had then won, it's becoming a little bit iffy, and lads' heads could go down. But it's when Arsenal have been challenging closely for the league, the standard normally 20%. So they were sort of delirious when the third. So yeah, it's looking good. I mean, it's still gonna be tough. Right? Is that Man City become embroiled in trying to win the league, Champions League, which they've never won, and it would be Barcelona, I think, and that would be their sort of main focus in the cup, courtesy of us. But I'm just hoping that as we get toward the end of the season, as long as we can keep trundling along now, and then it might catch up with City, and as everybody knows, not that far away either. So it could all. If I'm not going to wish this on it, I still would favour Arsenal if I were a neutral. Being a gooner, of course, I favour Arsenal.
Yeah, no good. Alex, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Paul. Thanks for inviting me onto your show, mate.
You kind of just invite yourself.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all right. No, it's good to have you on. You know what I mean? You retired on
cheers.
Sundays, so it'd be good to have you on every now and then. So if the wife allows.
I don't do live shows on Sundays, which is why you do the shows for me. But it's been a restful week. Those of you who probably know or don't know, I do work in schools, but the schools have been off on half term, so I've had a well-earned rest with me and the missus. But Paul, I want to say something which might upset a lot of the viewers, and maybe live watching now, or maybe on a rerun. is that, win, lose or draw, you've got to support the club. You can't be a flip-flopper. Over the last 5 games, I think we've lost 3, won 1 and drawn 2. So we can't have people literally just, when we're winning, they're with us. And then when we're losing, we've got Arteta outs. You've got to support the club, win, lose or draw. I don't want to mention some platforms I've been watching over the last, say, 6-7 days, probably a little bit longer. But the hyperbole, Paul, literally one extreme, we're winning, and like we've drawn, and like there's Arteta outs just coming out. We can't be like that. Yeah. We've got to support the club, win, lose or draw. And they do say we are the 12th man. Arteta needs the 12th man. Win, lose or draw. Let's stick together.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
yeah. I just thought.
No, well said. It's you know me well. I'm exactly that way. I'm not reactionary. I'm not. I don't go over the top. And I am a realist as well. At the end of the day, when you look at it and you think, well, where we are, no one on earth thought that we'd be where we are now.
Yeah.
And you look at it like that, and you just suddenly think, come position now, we second game of the season or a third game of the season at this time after being unbeaten in 5 months. You're suddenly thinking, "Go on, you've got to back everyone." There's obviously something that's going well, and look, it's going to be a long season. There's going to be big bumps in the road, and we're going to drop points, more points than the first 19. But you know, it's a long process, and these seasons are very long. And look, we're going to have more bad times.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't really think that every Arsenal fan was expecting us to be top of the league. Everyone was expecting, look, top 4 is a must because with the amount of players that we brought in and the quality of the players that we brought in. So for my aspect for Arsenal, it was top 4 minimum. Not even the league. If we get close to the league, by all means. But you cannot none of us can sit here and literally moan because of how we have played. There is still little improvements in Arsenal that need to be adjusted, but in time, Arteta will do that. Even Alex will back me up on this. When Arteta was appointed manager, I was very worried because of the first team management experience that he's had. But with everything that he's had with Pep Guardiola at Man City, he's implemented it into his own. So you can see what he's exactly learned from Pep Guardiola in the 3 years. Bear in mind, it's 3 years now since Mikel Arteta has been at Arsenal, and look where we are. It's been exactly the same with Jurgen Klopp. 3 years at Liverpool, and he won the league within his 3rd year. So I reckon Arsenal can win the league this year.
But I mean, Richard, that's fine. That's good because I am still one of Arteta's biggest critic. But am I asking Arteta out because we lost the other day? No, I'm not.
No,
I'm not.
The only thing is, with us playing against Man City, we knew that it was going to be a tough game because of the amount of times we've lost against Man City before. Even under Mikel Arteta, we've lost games against Man City and withdrew. So we always knew it was going to be a tough game. But in that whole game against Man City on Wednesday, we had more possession than Man City, and the possession of the game that Man City had was a less that they've had under Pep Guardiola. So that says a lot.
Yeah, I said about it on that game. It was one of those really good games where I thought, it was not a 3-1 by any stretch, and you suddenly think how we lost it was in those 2 boxes, and they were more clinical and they were more savvy in those 2 boxes. So any bits of or phase of play within those areas, they were a lot better than us. But
to me, that Man City game was very identical to the Manchester United game that we lost. Very identical, because we had most of the possession against Man United, but yet still conceded 3 goals and lost, and we were the better side from minute 1 to 90. That Man City game on Wednesday, it's deja vu, exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, individual errors, sadly, weren't it? It was just one of those where you just looked at it and it was just those little mini decisions, which again, a team like City that snowballs through everything, they don't really make those kind of errors. But look, we're a young team as well, and with that comes all this kind of like you know what I mean. You're not going to be an oiled machine all the time with these younger players. They're going to take time. But look, that shows that we are on the right path, I think. And yeah, just touching base on Wednesday, it was quite good. Just to obviously have a little recap on that as well, because yeah, it was a barometer, wasn't it, of how or where we were, and should we have beaten them, we'd have been in a very good position. But
Paul, can I ask you a question? I know you're hosting, but I want to ask you a question. If Arsenal if they don't win the Premier League, would it be a massive disappointment for you? I think for me personally, because like Richard just said, no one envisaged Arsenal would have been top of the league, almost towards the end of February. I didn't see that coming, but I think if Arsenal do not win the Premier League, for me, it won't be a massive disappointment. We would have secured Champions League, which we haven't been in for how many years? And with Champions League, as we know, it attracts quality players. But if Arsenal do not win the Premier League, for me, it won't be a disappointment.
No. Again, you kind of you have to quantify disappointment, and there's people's disappointment is in like really kind of over the top. I look at it and say, when people say it's in our hands, and I just think it's never in our hands because we've not been in that situation. If we were a City and we were in this position and we're suddenly saying, right, okay, we're top, we're 5 points clear or we're 8 points clear, it's in our hands. We've been there, we've done it. These players, we don't know what they've got fully in them to actually handle the whole thing. And that's why I'd say it would never be in our hands as it is an unknown. But yeah, as a disappointment, I'll be more frustrated just because we're in that position where we've got that potential to dream. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's the dreaming part of everything. And then when obviously it comes down to roost, or the chickens come home to roost, then it's just, just that just goes, and you're left with just what ifs. So I look at it like that. I'm not going to be massively disappointed. I know the main process is that we need to get Champions League top 4.
Yeah.
And look, if we finish second, we're ahead of schedule. And if we cut the gap as well, which we will do, then look, we're on the right path. And yeah, people will say again, next season will be harder. But again, look, we're going to improve. Doesn't mean that like everyone's going to suddenly fall away again. People are going to be taking more points off each other. So who knows? So we don't know. It's all ifs and buts. Ralph, are you there? He's
just on his third orbit. Hang on.
Yeah, we were delayed from the original start time just because Ralph had some technical difficulties in his space probe.
Just over Canada. Hang on.
Yeah. Alex, how did you get this nice like picture of Ralph on this stream? It's quite good.
I'll send you a copy.
His watch-alongs are better, aren't they?
Oh, dear.
Be busy shooting down there trying.
Alex, you know what? Go into your question. What you asked Paul, where you said about would it be a disappointment?
Yeah.
For me personally, I think it would be a disappointment, but also frustrating because of how well we've done since the start of the season with the performances, and that every player has put in 110% in every game. So I think if we don't win the league, I think it would be a disappointment because I think the way the players have been playing, they deserve at least a major silverware. But it wouldn't be a disappointment because I know what Arsenal's expectations was, which was top four.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's two ways of looking at it. But I would say it'd be very disappointing because obviously the players are putting such a great performances every week to maintain for us to win the Premier League. But it really does depend. But I reckon for us, I think top four should be the expectation for now until the final game when we know we've actually been crowned champions.
Yeah, I get your point, but yeah, from my personal opinion, it won't be a disappointment. It'll just be like, wow, I didn't envisage Arsenal being top of the league. I actually said that they probably might still get Champions League, and I've said literally what Champions League brings for Arsenal. But like Paul says, it's a young team with the youngest manager, in the Premier League, I think still. So yeah, we've got to be happy with what we've got. We can push on, and this is like an improvement from last season where we just missed it because people keep saying about because Thomas Partey was injured, we missed out on top four. Now we've kicked on, we've topped the league. You cannot argue with that. You can't argue with that. That's why I'm going back to my main point. Literally, the 12th man, Arsenal, the club, Arteta needs the 12th man to be onside rather than offside. Pardon the pun. But a disappointment for me, it won't. It just tells me that we are improving, going in the right direction. But we've got to keep these young players together. No?
Yeah, no, it's interesting that the match we lost, Josh Kroenke turned up, didn't he? He went into the dressing room. And I really hope he didn't make a faux pas and say, well, Dad only really wants to Champions League, because I don't get that vibe from the players. You might have seen Saka ran all the way across the field to celebrate our third goal. He was encroaching on the playing area, and of course, in these journalists who struggle to find anything to write about are making out he should be funded in some way. But I get the feeling from the players they are busting a gut to try, and that's quite right. That's what they should be doing, and it won't be trying. I think it's going to be tricky because other teams have found us out. And no doubt about that. They've worked out they double up on whoever's playing on either wing and back. So they're always watching out for that zone 14 in front of the penalty area as well. If you want to have a picture of what part of his plan is during a bit, the players he's tried to get but failed. He tried to get a 6'3" left side Vlahovic, and he tried to get Mudryk, who's he goes past people. So that can give you a kind of an instinct, So I have no doubt in my mind he's got a process. He's actually got a timeline. I think he was seen to have sat down with Uncle Stan. They showed him a timeline for Champions League next season. Top four is perfect. But our old guru Wenger said that this is a special year. What I think he meant was that the oil-rich clubs like Newcastle now and certainly Man City, they're going to just, unless it's factual fair play has failed, because all that Chelsea are doing, for instance, is so it's 9 years and 10 years. So there's 1,000 ways, and it's a real shame because I like sport where the motivation of the players matter, the training coaches matters, and I do worry that as we saw with Haaland, they sort of come on. Imagine if we had Haaland, crying out loud, be a whole different. Too worried that we aren't really watching a sport, and I hate to say this because we are a sports channel. I'm just thinking of the average fan who goes and wants to see any match teams, or yes, we want Arsenal to be better than the other team, fighting against owners that break all the rules of financial fair, kinds of skullduggery. That isn't football. That's something else, and it's we all love the sort of game of soccer. Then it's a fantastic game. Shame when you think that it's not just about how well how clever they are at buying players and training the players. I mean, Arteta favours, and he knows he's a great coach, and he hangs on to players and trains them and gives them enough opportunity to improve. I think Nketiah has reached his ceiling. I think is he? He's a goal hanger. He wants that quick flip, bang in. God, yes, he's okay to sort of bring on. As soon as Jesus is back, I think we'll all see a massive difference.
But tell just very quickly. So you just mentioned about Eddie Nketiah. Do you know who's the top scorer so far this season? Bukayo Saka with 10 goals. Oh, yeah. Who's in second place? Eddie Nketiah. Eddie Nketiah, like you said, he is the fox in box, but he gives us something. I don't like comparing players. I mean, a Gabriel Jesus is a Gabriel Jesus. He does what he does. And Nketiah does what he does. But Nketiah gives us something different. So I understand what you say. He might have reached his ceiling, but he provides with some. He's second top scorer. 9 goals this season across all competitions.
Well, Alex, Arteta would absolutely agree with me. He wouldn't say he's reached his ceiling, because you can be sure after that failed headed ball, do you know the one where he was on his own, unchallenged, and he managed to head it on that? But really, if you're a professional player of any kind, you should be doing that day in, day out. So you aren't stretching, you know what you're doing. Now, obviously, Arteta is good and his coaches are good. Whereas with Saliba didn't close the Villa player down early enough.
Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, Ollie Watkins scored. I did notice, was it Carlos Cuesta, he's only about 27. He's our young kind of guy, the individual players, and improves individual parts of their box of skills. I did notice when the players were going off, the old chinwag with Ollie Watkins. So it's interesting, friendly with him, and you never know that there could be a big at the end of the season.
Yeah, Eddie Nketiah. I think again, I do question fans that really get on his back, and we know that he's now in a situation where he's been given his contract. He's got 2 years to prove what he can do. The other 3 years that he has left then gives him value for the club, and then that means we've got a sell-on fee. Should it not work out? But I looked at it. In the end of the day, if he's not getting chances, then you then have a problem. Yeah, if he's not getting in those chances, or he's not being able to potentially go and score, then there's a problem. But he's getting those chances, and that one was which I was going to raise as a point when he went 1-on-1, and he done everything right when he went 1-on-1. He went across the defender. To be honest, I think he's gone across the defender, and he's almost hoping that potentially that defender's just going to come into the back of him, just kind of take him. Then it's a straight penalty. But the trouble is, as he's kind of like come across, the ball's either spun or he's just taken a little heavier touch to go a little bit further wide. but he tried to
See,
recover.
I think for me with Eddie Nketiah, I think he needs to work on his end product a bit better in terms of in match wise. He's probably doing it in practice, and since Jesus has been out injured, he really has stepped up. You cannot disagree that any Arsenal fan cannot disagree that Eddie Nketiah has stepped up since we've lost Jesus because of the way Jesus Jesus is one of those players that we have been missing in games where he can run out to the side to cut the defence off. So he could think that he's going to go that way, but he will invite the other players in and create that open space in that 6-yard box. And I think with Eddie Nketiah, I don't think he's quite learned that as much as what Jesus has.
But Richard, before the World Cup, Jesus hadn't scored a goal in more than 10 games. So I think he was quite lucky to have been on the plane to play the World Cup before his injury. So for me, I think I wouldn't say that there was an agenda against Eddie Nketiah, but you look at Jesus hadn't scored in 10 goals in 10 games. Our marquee signing, and then
Alex, the only thing is sometimes with a striker, it's not all about scoring goals. Sometimes it can be the mentality on how you help your team to score. You saw last season, a majority of our goals wasn't even coming from midfield. Majority of goals this season have come from midfield as well.
Yeah, but the
what was crying out for was more coming from midfield when really they was all coming from Lacazette. They was all coming from Aubameyang.
All right. So Richard, let me ask you a question. So when we got a Gabriel Jesus who's fully fit, does he walk straight back into the team?
No, 100% not. No. He has to work for his place to get back into the side. He had every player has an area. You look at Gabriel Martinelli. When one of our new signings when he played and he came on. Gabriel Martinelli was like, hold on a minute, that's my spot. Now I need to fight for it. No position in the Arsenal squad should be safe without a fail. So going to your question, no, Jesus doesn't deserve to come right into the squad straight away.
I don't know. I just tend to believe that but a lot of the fan base does give Eddie Nketiah a difficult time. Again, second top scorer, 9 goals across all competitions. He stepped into Jesus' shoes since he's been out injured. He's doing a good job. And like Bray says, I would be worried if he wasn't getting those chances. He's getting the chances. He just needs to stick them away. I mean, he had a Sorry, go on, Richard.
Yeah, with Eddie Nketiah, I haven't doubted him at all this season since he started. Since Jesus has been out, he's been absolutely brilliant. He stepped up when Arteta has needed him to step up, and that's all you can ask from a striker. That's all you can ask. With Nketiah, he's done his best, what he can do. But as I said, he just needs to work a little bit on that end product.
Yeah, well,
I think at the end of the day, you look at it and you think he is a natural finisher. And it's what I'm saying. But again, it comes down to having that exposure of playing in the first team all the time. And yeah, this will be his most games that he's played for Arsenal. In all honesty, when he obviously come in the end part of last season, and yeah, the whole setup of Arsenal last season, when we talk about where the goals come from, was down to the fact that we didn't have an Arteta attack or a striker that would play the Arteta way. Hence why things would break down and we wouldn't look as good as we do this season because we'd messed around. We'd sorted out the goalkeeper, we'd sorted out the defence, we sorted out midfield, but we hadn't touched that striker. Aubameyang became I'm not going to say a fraud. He weren't scoring goals.
You said it already.
Lacazette was again the other one where you were suddenly saying, yeah, well, he's not really scoring, but he's giving us work rate and dropping back in. But it all wasn't working. And then the only time we started looking like it was when Nketiah come on and he could start stretching defences. And that's something we haven't really worked on as a team. I think to use his pace to get and turn those teams back round to use it. And that one pass by Odegaard yesterday obviously showed that is something that we can look at. But it's obviously getting us in those positions
Absolutely.
to get him those chances.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good little debate, that one. It's an interesting one. It's the same with Martinelli as well. When we look at where Martinelli being rested as well. Did you all agree about Martinelli dropping down again? A lot was on him.
Yeah, but when he starts from the bench, I get the impression that he's more of a lethal threat rather than starting the game. His form, has it dipped? I'm not sure. Is it the fact that because we've got Zinchenko who literally floating all across the left side, the middle of midfield, is he kind of disrupting Martinelli's form? I'm not sure, but I was really happy for Martinelli putting his hands up and scoring before. Was that was that disrespectful by doing that before you even scored?
The celebration police
I don't
well
care.
out on that one, aren't they?
No, I even don't think that was a disrespectful either. He knew that he was going to score. That's why he celebrated before.
I mean, if he would have gone on and just gone on the floor and then tried to head the ball in, then you could maybe say that could have been bordering on disrespect.
That is exactly what all of us dream of doing,
Yeah.
isn't it? The ball's played, he's gone missing, especially Emmy with all the trouble we had with him. And suddenly, you trip up. You've got time to get up and kick it in. So he went, yeah!
Oh, I've got a question for you guys, actually. So, like, from now on, like, if Eddie Nketiah was injured while we've got Jesus out, would you consider putting Martinelli up front?
Straight away. And you may have seen about 2 weeks ago, Arteta was asked of a ball at the club. And he said the best man to time Martinelli. And I suddenly thought, oh my God, what has he seen in training? Guy can come into the box late or come early or drop back, but he can, or the pass that's coming in, and if it's in the air, he is head. Well, after Eddie's misheader, I suppose I'd be. So I reckon that Arteta's got that. If Eddie goes off the boil and makes it impossible to keep him at the moment, Martinelli as a forward would look wonderful. He knows this. It's common knowledge that since we don't play Tierney, we haven't got those overlaps. We haven't got somebody that Martinelli on that side. He can't interact with an overlapping fullback. It's always underlapping, and then he hasn't got Jesus either to play off. And he's the sort of player, and I'll tell you, he likes these overloads, doesn't he? 2-on-1, 3-on-2. These teams have worked it out. It's not complicated. Every time Saka got the ball, the last three, two players of the opposition came over and matched him. Sometimes two quality players. Oh, hang on, the old spacecraft come back round Earth side again.
Just one thing, Zinchenko's not the best defender, is it? He can't defend really. He's not.
No.
And I think that's why maybe Martin's a little bit concerned. He doesn't provide much coverage. If Martin has lost the ball on the left-hand side, Zinchenko is not the person to bail you out, is he? But no. I was happy for Martinelli.
Yeah, but Alex, there's a reason why, because Zinchenko is not a predominant defender. He's actually a midfielder.
Yeah, but if I was gonna, if I wanted an insurance policy, I would rather have a Tierney. I know he can defend. He'll provide.
Yeah.
Tierney, Zinchenko, he floats all over the place, isn't it? I'm sure Martin is thinking, well, if I've lost the ball, where's Zinny? Is he going to be covering me? Probably more often than not. It's not going to happen, But yeah.
I think he needs to trust himself a bit more as well in those higher up positions, certainly when he's running at defenders, and actually try to commit it. And I think he does need to go with the wind and actually just allow himself, because his talent will take him through, and his natural endeavour to go past, because he's got a massive determination. And you just think he just needs to be a bit more, say, positive to go actually get behind. And I think sometimes it almost, I'm not saying he overthinks it or he slows himself down because he's unsure, but it just seems that he doesn't always really commit.
But
I think,
Paul, is that probably not down to maybe Mikel Arteta literally with the system? I mean, a free-flowing Martinelli who's given a free pass to Rome wherever, literally, I like that Martinelli, but I think maybe Arteta wants him doing something specific and do not deviate from what I've asked you to do. And I think with that, he's probably thinking, oh, what should I be doing? Where should I be? Who's covering me? So he's overthinking things because of what he's been told that he must do. He doesn't have a free pass to Rome.
The perfect example of that, you guys might know, when Thierry Henry, after us, he was playing for Pep Guardiola, and I want you to play on the left wing and cut inside, which was fine, absolutely fine. But Thierry Henry kind of drifted inside in the first half of a match and scored 2 goals. He drifted inside before he scored them. And when he went off for half time, he's quoted as saying from Pep, "Oh, wonderful play." And Pep said, "If you don't hug that touch, I'm taking you off."
Yeah.
so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Phil, I think that's really down to discipline, really, because that's down to discipline. Because if you look at the way, like as Alex said about Martinelli with Mikel Arteta, that's down to disciplinary. That's basically what it is. Because what Mikel Arteta wants, he wants to make sure that these players that we've got have got a winning mentality and actually do it as they're told to do.
But Martinelli has a winning mentality, Richard. But does he have the freedom to roam wherever he wants to go? I don't think he does.
I don't think he has.
He's been told specifically to stay on that wing over there and don't deviate.
Yeah.
And that's what I think he's probably second guessing what he should or should not be doing.
I think there was one time he found himself against Man City where he was really central, and then he drifted into that right channel and into the box.
Yeah.
And then almost scored. And it will be quite interesting to see whether or not, if he isn't getting that joy because he's been doubled up on or he's not seeing it, but yeah, joining up and being that little bit more narrow or coming central to be alongside like Nketiah or whatever. But he's got the ability to pop up kind of anywhere. And I think someone mentioned about the formation that we play as rigid, and I couldn't think of anything like so not rigid because of the way Arsenal interchange and the way all the players do manoeuvre around. So yeah, I couldn't work that one out really.
Yeah, I was reading an article, Paul, by I think it was in a minute. He's an American soccer coach, Mike McDonald, saying that when you look at Arsenal's current midfield, it's so fluid and so everybody moving, everybody supporting each other, quick one-time passes. He said, league team, it looks like a team that are going to go a long way in the Champions League. It's fluid, it works, and it creates chances. But as Arteta says, the biggest problem at the most at the back, and we're making errors in the penalty box, so it's just clearing up that, making it tidier at the back. He's got now of pushing Zinny into the midfield and only really having left to cope with any breakaway attacks that are launched. Brentford did, and that's what City did, and Everton did. Our interplay is so fast and so crisp in midfield that their best thing to do is block and ping any loose ball up high and get a player to sort of Gabriel or Saliba. And that's how Villa scored their first goal, of course.
Yeah, it's interesting to see about these defensive errors because I'm looking now. Saliba's had a couple of proper physical challenges recently, and yeah, you obviously had Calvert-Lewin, you've had obviously Haaland, and you see him and you, he's great with his feet. He's very calm with the ball and bringing the ball out, but I think he does get a little bit ruffled up. Is the word? Obviously, he's young. He's still learning. He's still got to get that experience, isn't he, of playing? And
Yeah.
I looked at it and I thought,
Paul,
Tom,
I was just going to say, I read the Sol Campbell autobiography. It was very interesting what he was saying about centre backs. He says it's all about experience. Playing against the forward you haven't played against before, he will have a trick or two. One shoulder, he'll drop the other, he'll run into space that you weren't expecting. All those tricks you're the first time. But if you're a centre back, you will log that into your head. Right. That's what Shearer in his day did. That's what other guys did. Now I know. And whatever they beat me with the first time, they never, ever beat me again. And I think he's a wonderful centre back. I think he's got so much natural talent. But he's very, very young for our team, but he's very, very young for being a centre back. And he doesn't know up against. He's just spent all that time in the French league. So I think to say this, that sometimes when you play a young player, they will cost you points occasionally in the sort of long view, which is that, yes, he'll have a few errors and things that well, but he will be better, all the better for it. So it does hurt when we maybe making a really serious push for the league. And I'm sure Arteta do we drop White back in as a leave Saliba and Gabriel together. I'm sure they talk about this thing time and again. But he's going to improve and he's going to be wonderful next season. This doesn't end at the end of this season. It goes on to next season and the season. Keeps telling us trust the process.
Yeah,
definitely. Welcome, Ralph. Finally, are you here? Can you hear us?
Hi guys. Many apologies. But 4 electrical storms and everything else. So I've managed to wangle some things, and I'm hoping that you can hear.
Good. Your thoughts on the game quickly? Yesterday.
Oh well, those who join me on the watch along, your hands up in the air and everything, because the kind of past history of our Arsenal is that we get to such a point where challenge, and then one result makes us like capitulate, and the match yesterday had everything going in that kind of like we went a goal down within 5 minutes. We managed to scramble to equalise. Saka's amazing shot. I was just watching Ian Wright on Twitter, and it was very similar in the way that Saka shot that goal. And then with some wonderful player from Aston Villa, I have to say, the solo short, and we was 2-1 down. And I draw. I wouldn't be happy with a loss, but I was thinking it could be just we turned on his head with Zinchenko's goal, and then I mentioned on the Wednesday watch along how if the way that they did a lot of things that El Tel will be proud of. It's called the dark arts. They slowly fell down, even if they were, lightly shoulder barged down, and they frustrated us. And I think Aston Villa was trying to almost do that kind of thing. I think he took half and half to try and kick the ball downfield half the time, because we like to try and play at 100 miles an hour. But I think what his youngsters are understanding now is that 100 miles an hour, sometimes you have to break the team down. Sometimes you have to delay them. If we can get two teams, battling head to head because of the way that we probably be a lot further ahead in the table. But not every team's going to be like that. Not football. Everyone's going to play long balls, because they know that we like to. And the stats, pretty much back it up. So yesterday was frustrating. It was so gratifying getting the go ahead. And don't forget, Ramsdale kept us in the match. Amazing save. I'm trying to remember who it was against. Fingertip. That could have been another turning point if they scored the third goal. I've got in mind who's an Aston Villa fan, and he texted me today saying well played. And I said, yeah, when you think about it, the amount of grit, no protection again for Saka, marked twice, 3, maybe 4
times. He got
times.
booked for being tackled, didn't he?
And what the opposition are trying to do, they're trying to, in a way that he feel that he want to come off, but you can see that his grit scored that penalty against Man City. I had to turn away because I didn't think that he's got a real set on him, as we say. And I think what happens, and also the other 2 players, Rashford's coming off form, and the 3 young men who missed their penalties in the Euros, all of a sudden they seem to have turned the corner. So I'm glad Saka plays for us. You know what I mean? I'm glad he plays for us. So really interesting match yesterday. And yeah, I think my defibrillator charged because the amount of half chances that they had, the amount of the chance was the end. I mean, I just saw it. That should be buried. But then we should 3 chances in the Man City match. So these things tend to weigh themselves up. But I'm back because now we can say we're on the way of saying that the last 4 matches were a blip to start being, right up there.
Have we spoken about Jorginho yet, Paul?
Just about to, yeah.
All right, okay.
That was, yeah. Yeah, glad you said about Ramsdale. Obviously, 2 big moments of the game. And obviously that one save onto the bar was a match-winning save. And that's why we've got a goalkeeper like that in there who can perform as he does. But yeah, did we miss Thomas Partey?
No.
I think the thing about
no, go on, Altel.
I was just going to say the thing about Jorginho, sort of guy, especially when he's not playing for your club, you don't really notice him, And when I thought, well, I've never really noticed him much, but he's got this ability to be the right time. And I know, although he's Brazilian, he plays for Italy. They're famous for that. They really are superb at knowing exactly where to place themselves. And he does rotate the ball. He keeps the ball moving. He sets things up. Go of a fellow we got from Everton called Kevin Richardson. And I think it was, and I remember watching him and thinking, why is George Graham bought this guy? And then, you'd be what I'd want. And I suddenly noticed he was the mortar. He was the cement that held the hold to, working as a cohesive engine. Jorginho he's got that ability to make that midfield engine move, prod and pull. back and go forward and ping it one way and ping it the other. It's an interesting role because what do they call it in Italian? Register Italian, but it's like, and you translate that as conductor. So he's conducting passes here, slightly longer passes there, and he's got a vision of all that's going. And I know some Chelsea fans are haranguing their current manager for they haven't looked as good without him in their team. So I'm pleased. Obviously, I do like Partey, even though Partey sometimes he's got the world's worst touch, as if he's wearing someone else's boots, and he does all these wonderful stuff, and then the ball will play it. And whether he's not looking at you're supposed to look at the ball or when you're striking, never look close enough to see whether he's looking ahead, and therefore he's assuming his touch. The only annoying thing I found about Partey is he sometimes does the most catastrophic and you go, my granny could have passed that better, but then 98% of the time might. But isn't it good news that we've got a fella that can fill in a different style, has the same effect of making the ball move and rotate and direct forward and so on.
Did you see though that he got Jorginho went left side of him and he was calling for it. He called for it. I don't think Partey would have called for it. I think Partey will have. I think Partey is more of like a reactionary kind of midfielder, whereas Jorginho, look, I'm in space. He put his hand up, and the ball was played out to him, and he knew what he was going to do. It was brilliant. The top right hand corner, but it was just coming on the bar, and it hit play of the match for that goal. But he called for it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ralph. Yeah, I think Partey would not have shot from there. He probably would have looked for another pass. Whereas Jorginho just took the shot, didn't he? On me head, son. On me head.
Did you not see the last goal? And the crossbar post at White Lane. Partey will strike the ball. I think it's got a bit, and most of the time it will probably go Rose Ed. But that was last season Partey, and then all of a sudden he's had a couple of real good shots, hasn't he? And you'd suddenly look at him when he just literally just walks onto it, and almost just his body shape just curls it in. And
you got to admit, lads, Emmy's header was wonderful.
Wonderful,
I mean, guys,
beautiful.
What a header!
Beautiful. It was a goal of the season. I'll tell it's the country, remember. When you look at a diving header, that's what it typified it. It was
It was brilliant. It's one of the best goals of the season.
I
bet everybody's writing to him. Thank you. Lovely goal.
No, it's all good. It's good.
No, but you know what? To be honest, guys, I don't actually think we've missed Partey since he's been out. I think we have, in terms of defensive-wise, to support the back line a bit more. But apart from that, I don't think we've really missed him because he has mislaid passes. He's caused fouls which didn't really need to be called at times as well. And that's another part of Partey's game that I don't like. He will call fouls when it's not necessary.
Richard, if I can jump in there, guys. While your observation may be correct, in yesterday's match and also going back, the kind of thing that Arsenal tend to do, it's not just Partey times. Odegaard has done it quite a few times. Zinchenko, whereas maybe Gabriel, they tend to foul, potentially hurt us. They don't have they have the awareness, but they don't have to say, you know what? If we're gonna create if you're going to do a foul, not that you think about it, make sure that you put, if you're going to foul someone, it doesn't hurt you. If you're within like 40 yards outside the box, you've got potential. I saw one last night, Southampton. I'm trying to remember the guy who's is it Ward-Prowse. If there's a free kick, not about 8 times at him, he'll score. Yeah. It doesn't matter whereabouts outside that box. Some kind of like aerodynamic that Beckham used to have when it comes to a free kick. And I think the discipline that Arsenal need to understand is, if you're going to do a foul, then if you're going to do it, you do it far left or far right, so to defend it. Yeah. If you're doing it in front, 40 yards in front of goal, then that's not just Partey. Partey is sloppy, but what he tends to do, he try and rectify his mistake. He fights back to get the tackle in, and then when we tackle, even if it's Martinelli, for example, when he tackles, they tackle. That's what creates the foul, and that's what potentially hurt us. So your observation is kind of correct in the fact that he does foul, but he's not the only one. I feel that they're quite young, but they have to do a foul, then do it top end of the pitch, where you still got a lot of men behind, left or right of the box, so you've got more chance of defending. If you're going to do it central, we have trouble with that. We have trouble with defending that.
But Ralph, do you think because we expect so much from Thomas Partey that when he makes mistakes, his mistakes are more highlighted rather than a player less so? And I think you're right. When he makes a mistake, when he's like under pressure and he's lost possession, whereas I kind of looked at Jorginho, he's good at sensing danger and releasing the ball, like Tel said, keeping the ball moving, whereas Thomas Partey holds onto the ball and he gives up possession and he commits the foul. I think because Thomas Partey is the person that everyone says that makes the team works, his mistakes, is underlined more than anybody else's. But did we miss a Thomas Partey yesterday? For me, no. Jorginho.
No. But another thing as well, Alex, sorry to jump in again, guys. Another thing that we have to understand is the win match ratio with Partey. While Jorginho in that still new ascendancy and scoring a goal now means that to get more of the kind of performances from him while Partey is recuperating, win ratio of Partey when he plays in the team. And I think that's another thing as well, is that what's settled. It'd be interesting to find out, for example, if Trossard, he was more or less marked out the game. He was trying to find space, but the ball didn't find him. So that with Eddie Nketiah, that you could have a really poor game score. He had about roughly two gilt-edged chances where the ball attracts you when you're off form, and you feel that you never ever can't do with a ping pong ball, so to speak. So Eddie needs to have a bit of confidence. Sometimes that's when your manager needs to know what this is just not your game. And I feel that to do that may make for the next match.
Yeah, well, so I think this whole midfield thing just goes into that whole kind of comparison kind of thing as well, isn't it? It's again, you're not going to get another Thomas Partey. I mean, you can't. It's apples, pears. It's I mean, they are different midfielders, and look, as I say, for 12 million and a Chelsea has been, it was a decent performance for that, and the pelters we got for signing, just not. It's not right. There's a player there, and he's got lots of experience, but.
I actually think Jorginho is probably one of our best players on Wednesday night against Man City as well, to be honest.
Yeah. He was quietly good, and then that was it. But look, it shows with the way we had control of the game, wasn't it? At the end of the day, that's it. A lot goes through them.
But Paul, can you understand why people, when we hear Arsenal sign another Chelsea player, can you not understand why that is? Because like David Luiz,
I can, and there's been David Luiz would be the better one out of them. I think we got all right from him. It's the other ones, and like a Willian or whatever. And it's one of those where, we weren't exactly not blessed with those kind of that profile of player when we signed Willian. And you're suddenly thinking it was probably not a great choice to kind of do it on his wages. But look, I think we got good cover now, and obviously Lukonga had to go.
Yeah,
that was that was it. He had to go. He's got to get game time and cut his cloth properly. I think and get the game time.
Good lads, and hopefully we'll have him back next season. Balogun playing a blinder over there in Reims, and he's outscored all the famous goals. And I've watched a lot of his games, and he's 2-footed with either foot. He's not lightning fast, but he's strong and an eye for goal. So he'll be. I'd love to see him back next a year or two ago when I watched him in the youth team and so on, and under 21s. But he's come on, and he does things respect. And my goodness, our forward line needs that. Everything at the moment is very, very predictable. Looking at Arsenal, they've got several analysts. They've got several got several people like under the aegis of Carlos Cuestra who work with us to improve whatever skills they're lacking. So there's a whole mass of people that are analysing, so that by the time Arteta a game, he's got to sit through a whole load of stuff, and I'm sure he's got saying, right, we'll take that part of that job off you and make your choices much. But it's and Arteta likes that. He really likes the sort of tactical side matchups, so that when he played, didn't he play Tomiyasu against Liverpool weeks back because he knew he needed a good tackler on the left-hand side and so on. It bodes well for what's left of the season to be more unpredictable, and the way we play in midfield is an absolute delight. But it means you've got to be massively brave because it's one touch football, and you need when you've got the ball, you've got to already know, like Jorginho, he knows what his pass is going to be. Whereas as you said earlier, Raf, he gets the ball and goes, now what do I do with it? Yeah. Whereas I love it. Everybody's making passing lanes, everybody's moving into space, and then it's time to look up who should I pass it to. And as that's being passed, other things I watch all the time. I don't just watch the guy who's on the ball. I'm watching who's moving, take it on his own, or can he pass it? So when it works, it's delightful at its highest level.
Yeah, and you can see that with Jorginho, he's already thinking about where am I going to pass the ball next? Whereas Thomas Partey will wait to receive the ball, and then he will think where he's going to pass the ball. And by that time, he gets caught on the ball and commits the foul. But yeah. On me head, son. On me head.
Eltel, do you think, in fact, this open question? Okay, so Balogun's doing really well. Do you think that he'll be able to replicate that kind of form if and when we do bring him? I think it's going to be very, very. It's going to be a hard ask.
Yeah, what you have to realise is that when we signed the famous pepping up Ligue 1, looking the most wonderful player, and to be honest, we gave him try and recapture that form, and he couldn't do. So absolutely right, Raf, step up. What I will say as well, if people are interested, I'm always fascinated in up and coming guy at Reims is a Belgian of English. So he's obviously fluent in French, and he's fluent in Flemish languages in that sort of Belgium area, Walloon and all of that manager. And he's one of those guys who's on the way up. And that's a little funny side to him. Listen, you've now got a player through your coaching, he's the top scorer. What more can you tell us about him? And he said his French is terrible.
It's good. It's doing all right. They get fined 23 grand, don't they? Each game he manages. That manager, isn't it? I found that like crazy because he hasn't got his UEFA license. He's not a pro coach. So until he passes that, they then get fined 23,000.
Wow. And he's doing a wonderful job. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
Isn't it? You know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In whatever job you're in, whatever profession you're in, there are some people and are dynamite at it, and others have qualifications and should never ever be anywhere near that job. So it is the way, isn't it? You know.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Right, I'm gonna delve into live chat now. Yeah, we've had some good little interaction on there. It's like it's almost like a meltdown. The chat, it's so busy. I could probably do about 2 hours going through all the messages, and it's just like. Like Richard watching, is the efficiency of the squad an issue, and how do we solve that? Assuming that they already are doing extra shooting practice. Yeah, I know. I think this has been a perennial issue with Arsenal, haven't they? Where we've always seemed to have to create a lot of chances to actually take them.
Yeah,
I'll go back.
I was thinking that about Ødegaard's shot. You know, he's got a lovely curl when he plays the ball. It curls off his sort of half of his side foot, and he plays these beautiful curled passes. And actually, that shot, it needed he needed to position himself slightly differently. His laces through it and lash it. And of course, he's so used to not doing that. These lovely little curly passes and so on, that I would offer sitting there thinking, right, get him out on the pitch at London Colney and do an hour with it all into the net. The way Saka did, the ball came to Saka perfectly. But if you watch that, guys, watch him, because it's the first touch, right? It hits it first time. Dance before the ball gets to him, is getting his standing foot in the right place, and that's what went wrong with Ødegaard. He didn't replace his shot with one of his curled passes, which went wrong. So or maybe it's been drilled into him. You know, your standing foot's key, because unless that balloon the ball over the bar or go off target. So as Arteta always says, he said, there's room for improvement. There's lots of room to work on individual skills, midfield skills, passing skills, scoring skills, defend, you know, and what he likes doing. That's the kind of coach he is, you know. So what I would say is that next season's going to be better. Of course, I'm a bit worried that the oil mag throw silly money at their teams, like Newcastle and so on. But again, next season. But this, I'm sorry to say, this is a great chance to sort of blow this, because we've got a great chance. We aren't in the FA Cup, whatever they call it, Carabao Cup these days. We've got a few coming up where he might rotate a bit. But you know what? I reckon this could be the season, and at least we know with Saka, with Hitch and risking the sort of wrath of the ref, that the team are. What happened to Alex off the end of the planet?
Oh, he's there.
He might have caught my international space
Your
station.
signal.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm listening. On the head, son. On the head.
on your head. I think there's one thing that, if you remember, I'm going back maybe about 5, maybe 7 odd seasons back, rather youthful team where had quite a few experienced players, but the issue was always about had gone down in training, and that kind of like depleted the squad when it came to matches. This season we were quite fortunate because we had a few players go to the Euros. No, it was the World Cup, big pardon. It was the World Cup. Then you had the emergence of a few players coming in the window, and we seem to be going okay on this run. And now we're getting into where 2 matches within a week, unless you're in one of the cup runs, and you're as well now. So to train, I think that it's to the way that they have their regime at London Colney. You can't train too much. When you think about it, we've had 2 really matches within a space of like 5 days, and recovery is key. The 1st of March, if my calendar is correct, and then we've got so you can train too much, and then when you need those energies to perform at a high level, then you're found wanting. So I feel that they probably would just work on maybe more of the strengthening the weaknesses, the finishing. If we finish 3 or 4 yesterday, the score would have been a higher score. Possession frustrates me and puts me on the edge of my seat is when we start the ball outside from my box, and I don't know what it is. We don't seem to press high end at the opposition, and yet we've been quite fortunate with the way that we kind of try and do some really kind of like intricate kind of. But if you remember against the Man City match, a potential 2 goals could line because we put ourselves under pressure when we didn't need to. So I feel that maybe to more confident and say, you know what, rather than playing out from the box every time, and then let's try and win the first ball. If we don't win the first ball, then you've got to win half the time. The second one is when the opposition has set up, they already know what's going to happen, back foot. So that's the kind of things I feel that maybe they should work on more. It's the fact of, and then if we're going to start playing outside the box, we need to do it with speed. It's real key, and maybe just lacking in certain areas is the speed of the passes. You hold up play, but speed kills. Speed kills. You've got to be cold. But when you've got a chance to put the opposition on the back foot, and you've got speeders like Martinez, who loves to run with the ball in front of them, then speed kills, and we need to be able to start finishing. When he gets a chance, and he's left that guy for dead, just do his finishing. So for me, I think those are the main key areas that we need to focus on. Hence, training, because then you're trying to replicate the same kind of thing in training, but then when you try and do the same thing in practice, in game time, it's the same, and you're always trying to develop play, learning what the opposition is doing.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where it's like penalties again, you can't always recreate from training to match as well, can you? I mean, you're working on those drills and the finishing, but again, you see a player like Nketiah probably a massively high rate of conversions in training, but replicate that in a full stadium, certainly away from home, totally different kettle of fish. And yeah, you look at it like that, it's one of those. But as I say, I think for years it's been like that kind of problem where we've always had to kind of create quite a lot of chances to actually then take one. I think that's just part of our DNA. And that's why we're already having loads of cardiac problems when we watch games, because we don't take those chances. So, yeah.
Well, the place I was watching the game against Villa was in a pub along the... And when we scored the first equaliser, one of the guys off to the toilet. And then he came out and we all shouted at him, we've equalised. When we scored the second equaliser, he was also in the toilet. So at that point, we were him in there. Every time he goes in, we score.
Make sure you don't come out of the toilet.
So guys, to this question that's in the comments where it says we will see more rotation now we're going into the business part of the season. I think we will, because we've got Europa League games as well coming up. So I think there's going to be a lot of rotation to the squad. Because obviously I don't think Mikel Arteta is going to put all his eggs into one basket and focus on the league. He's going to want to do well in the Europa League as well, just in case if we do, drop down in the league, it's always still something to fall back on. So I do think there will be a lot of rotation. You probably might see Emil Smith Rowe in there in terms of rotation, because he hasn't really played that much, has he? Really? So he might possibly play. He possibly might come into the first team in terms of rotation. Kieran Tierney, you might see him come in. Even the decision is a bit of a problem, because we've only got Eddie Nketiah at the moment. So who are we going to put up front as a rotation? Jesus, I guess. Give Jesus the Europa League games just to, gradually get himself back into the first team again.
Yeah, I think that definitely is the key for Jesus, isn't it? And I think he's due back mid-March. Is it mid-March?
Yeah, mid-March he's due back. So that'd be perfectly at the right time for when the Europa League kicks in for the knockout. I think it's the knockout stages, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget we've got Reece.
Will play some of those games just to give him a bit of game time.
Go on there, Tom.
Don't forget we've got Reece Nelson fit again, and I've always liked. He's got a great burst of speed, great feet. He's right-footed, like as a left-footed, so it's no harm in having a right-footed bloke there. And I just think he doesn't think he could be a really good player. And when you're getting towards the end of the side, and also teams have worked us out, that's where you need to be bringing on last half an hour who've got a bag of tricks, but nobody's really seen them before. Haven't seen them before. So even people like Reece Nelson could end up having 5 or 6 games and being decisive and at least one.
Yeah, I like Reece Nelson. I think he's very direct the way he runs as well, and the pace he's got as well. I remember I went to the game where he got injured. Obviously, it was the Juventus friendly, and you saw it, and he'd run with the ball, but he'd be flying. And that first 20 minutes of that game, he was absolutely just destroying them by just running.
Yeah,
and it'd be interesting to see if he gets an actual run, and that would be kind of probably, well, it's hard to say, isn't it? I don't think he'll ever be first choice at this minute in time. But again, opportunity opens, then it all comes down to performances at the end of the day. And as I say, if Saka or anything like that does fall or drop or gets injured, then he can step up. But it's the same with Martinelli on the other side. I've no qualms in playing either side. I think it'd be decent, but again, it's a lovely player to have to come on.
I think Mikel Arteta, he's going to have a bit of a selection headache, to be honest. That's what he's going to have. He's going to have a massive selection headache because, like Saka, he's been one of our top scorers at the moment in the league for us, and he's been, let's be honest, he has. And then you look at Eddie Nketiah, he's doing pretty well. Just needs to finish on his end product. I think he'll be all right. Even Gabriel Martinelli, he's been absolutely flying as well when he has been playing well. So I think he's got a massive selection headache, especially with the likes of Reece Nelson when he comes back fit, Jesus as well. It's gonna be a headache for Mikel Arteta, but he will go in terms of form and performances.
Yeah, can you imagine if we actually spent £80 million on two players? How much of a headache it would have been for this squad with that, and you just suddenly think people are moaning about not spending the money. But look, I think sometimes you find also that was the argument as well about the signings. We got none of our top targets. So sometimes maybe our second target is a better option than our first target, and that's the way it sometimes works, where you miss out on one player, but then you get a better player. Look, Jesus probably wasn't our number one at that point because obviously Vlahovic or whatever was that again. That was it, wasn't it? It was just one of those where you just suddenly think it's always that way, and not that clear.
Since Chelsea kept sneaking in and buying our players, I've always wanted a player to actually make a totally spurious sort of piece of gossip, some League 3 player, and get Chelsea to go and buy him, and we're after.
Ralph, do you want to say so?
Yeah, I'm trying to pick up my thread. If you remember images of what happened in previous seasons, we were winning the Premiership. I don't think it was. I think it might have been 2012, and we put a bid in for Luis Suarez. I'm not sure about that. And then Arsenal. I say Arsenal. The going rate was like 49 million, and then they said 49 £1.
That was definitely American.
But if we gave them the asking price at that time, then potentially that period of time as well, because Luis Suarez, although he was doing a few crazy things with biting people, generally not shaking hands through his he was a winner for Liverpool, and he was top box office at that time as well. So potentially get him, then we could have been a Premiership earlier, as it were, going towards the end of Arsene Wenger's tenureship at the Emirates.
That was like part of the latter part of the mismanagement of Arsenal Football Club, and why we are kind of, or were 3-4 years ago, how we dropped. And we've fallen from the grace where we once was when we were winning titles. And we never invested in our squad as we should have done when we moved to the Emirates and when we were promised to be competing with the big boys, but we were having to sell our players each year without the real investment to kind of keep strengthening. That bid just reeked of American ownership, and no way did Arsene Wenger suddenly think that one up and say, "Oh yeah, let's do that," because it weren't very classy, was it? It weren't.
No.
It weren't an Arsenal way. Ah, dear, I don't know. Richard, I'm going to go to you again. Just these January signings. What do you think of them? How have they done, in your view?
Me, I think there's still a lot more from Jorginho that we need to see in the next couple of games. Trossard, do you know what? I'm actually really impressed with Trossard, to be honest. Especially the way he was playing when he was at Brighton. So we sort of saw the glimpse of what he can do, but he just needed the right system to suit him. I think Mikel Arteta's system suits him. But yeah, I think the signs have been okay. The thing with January signings is that you go and get the players that you want within the summer, and the ones you can't get by the summer window shuts, that's who you go and get in January. So probably the one or two players, but we end up getting three, didn't we?
Yeah, with the Polish defender.
Yeah.
So we covered
So
another.
I think the signings have been okay. We haven't really seen much of that Polish defender yet, though, have we?
No. I think again he's one for future, isn't he? I think at the end of the day, I think he's one with a good reputation.
But apparently,
we can't. So really, for him, we can't really count him. But with Jorginho and Trossard, yeah, there's still a little bit more that I want to see from Jorginho. But Trossard, yeah, I've been pretty impressed with the two signings so far.
Yeah. No, it's promising. It's promising.
now, just going to say about that sign, it just shows you we must have some good scouts there because try to have a look and see if people thought that the guy was fast, and they said, well, he's quick fastest. This is on the internet, of course, which could tell you anything. And then apparently you might try him out because they do various things like how quick are you over 20 yards. And he broke all records. He broke Theo Walcott's record. He broke Rin's record. This guy is lightning. Absolutely lightning. So play to Arteta and Edu and the whole scouting team for finding this guy. Is sure.
Yeah. No, good. Agreed. Sorry. Scrolling. Rez. Oh. Hi, Rez. Football is a game of chances, and we have lost games where our players could have made a shy goal. It's a young team which has a lot to learn so far, so we are good. We are top of the league. So, I think that just echoes kind of said about the chances, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's giving you a mention, mate. He's giving you a mention.
I appreciate that.
Thanks for watching, David.
Call me maybe mischievous or the fly in the ointment at times as well. I feel like there's sometimes we have to look at things kind of perspective. We've got a really good team in the Premiership. We've got a young manager, youngest manager, I believe, in the Premiership as well. We are the team's going into uncharted waters where teams have pretty much gone in and gone against and the form's dropped off, because I feel that at the time everyone's looking to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, or a goal or a and I always look at the team from 2000, young team then. We had Walcott, we had the great midfield, which was Kleb, Fabregas, and Flamini. They were flying that time. They were flying, and unfortunately, the match that we beat them, or maybe Stoke, where Eduardo, had that unfortunate derailed the whole.
Yeah,
the whole
that
season.
was so sad. So sad. Yeah.
So I tend to not try and get my hopes up too much at times. I'm a typical Arsenal fan. I love it, and then moves against us. Then I'll probably like throw as lightning strikes at the skies and wonder why us, why nobody else. I really like the way that we're playing. It has taken us a while to get to have that kind of cautious understanding that this game can be really cruel. You just look at, for example, Rugby World Cup, Women's Rugby World Cup, and they went unbeaten. The women went unbeaten for the longest. A match against New Zealand, and they had them. They had them. Literally, all it needed was a throw in, and they were over. And the throw in went askew, and New Zealand got the ball and kicked it. And the captain of England said this game can be really cruel, and I feel that to be really cruel as well. So we have to start. We are not getting, but at the same time, we're quietly kind of optimistic. But then we also have to. It will probably take another VAR decision where the line's not drawn, and not to give something when it's blatant. We have to really pragmatic, take it a game by game, but understand that this, God forbid, if we don't get to where we've got to get to at the end of this season, we've got a team that can potentially the next season start challenging the right. In that, when you have those opportunities, you've got to take them. You got to take them. We didn't take our opportunities, and it's put us back to this point where we're thinking. So I'm sorry if I may sound a bit, not a bit practical, but it's only because I've seen from the past, and us Arsenal fans, we've seen we were going to do it, and then all of a sudden we start like one result, it becomes 3, and then we're out of the race, and then it's all everyone start pointing the fingers. So let's keep an even keel as well. Great team. The fans. This is where we are now. The fans are important. More so, the fans. I've seen the way that the fans have lifted the team, and it's made the crest as well. So, whichever way we can do it, we have to stay positive, but we're pragmatic as well.
And you know what? What I also like about this Arsenal team is that every time that we go 1-0 down, our heads don't drop. Not like in previous seasons where we've gone 1-0 down and all of a sudden we've gone, yeah, that's it, game over, job done.
Yeah.
But now
we start looking for leaders. Then
as we go 1-0 down, as soon as we go 1-0 down, they're like, right, come on, we need to get back in this game. We need to just retune ourselves and get into that focus mode again and keep pushing. And that's exactly what we've done. And our pressing game has got better as well.
Yeah.
The way we press the ball when we're out of position.
When Tommy Asu did that back pass, and Man City, if you saw Odegaard, he went to Tommy Asu and he put his head up, because of course the natural thing you're thinking, great, it's me. Your head's down. Odegaard went up to him and pushed his head up to say, "No, coming head up. We'll get back in kind of like spirit and the steel that we're forming." Okay, so one goal.
And I'll tell you what,
we'll come back and score 2 or 3.
I think our best pass of the season so far is Odegaard's pass against Brighton. That was pinpoint, straight to Gabriel Martinelli.
Yeah,
best pass of the season, best pass all season.
Yeah, no, it's good. And then say it's all about character, and to say this whole thing with the squad and how they react to bad moments, obviously shows how good that group is, certainly character wise, and just I think just their mentality.
Yeah, but Paul, the only thing is, it's not just down to players; it's the manager that's bringing this winning mentality to them.
It's the culture, isn't it? It's bringing that culture. This is why I say you can't just do it overnight.
It has to start from the manager first.
Yeah, but that's over. That's not an overnight fix as well. Where obviously when we were finishing 8th, and it was another negative. It was a real bad thing. It's like he's not the real deal. He's blah blah blah. Get rid of him. You know, we've seen it. We've seen it with the Arteta outs at the early start, and it's a process. He's had to deal with. Not everyone's been able to have, or had to kind of almost wipe out 3/4 of a squad or over half a squad to then bring in new players.
Yeah.
He's done it, and you think
It's exactly. So you get to see with this whole thing, this whole program, Mikel Arteta coming in as taking over Arsenal. As I said before we became live, it's exactly the same as what Jurgen Klopp done at Liverpool. It took him 3 years to win the league with Liverpool, and this is Mikel Arteta's 3rd year now. So it does show that the money has been brought into the team, and Mikel has used it, and Edo has used it very wisely.
Yeah,
They've looked at the key. They've basically looked at the key areas that we've needed to strengthen.
Yeah, and we need to get that competition, don't we? Across the field, and slowly we're doing it, and we're starting to see now that substitutes bench is now getting stronger, and that's all we've come to ask for, isn't it? Again, just making sure that drop off is less noticeable, and you'll find a time when we get Xhaka and we have a replacement for Xhaka, and he becomes that kind of bench player again, where he's at probably one of our better players still for the season. I think most consistent players. And with this role, the new role, the further forward role, he has been very good. I was hoping he was going to get a few more goals, certainly from the start of the season. He looked like he was going to get those chances. And I think I had him, I said I'd maybe try and see if he can get 10 goals. And getting in those positions and being a bit more advanced, I thought that potentially could have been doable. But not saying it probably isn't. He could go and knock in another 2 any other game. But look, I think he's done well.
That's the thing with Granit Xhaka. He's very unpredictable. You know, you don't know how to play game to game. But at the moment, the games that he has played, Granit Xhaka, this has probably been his best season in an Arsenal shirt.
Yeah, and you do wonder. Again, I just think it's also down to the midfield as well being balanced, and we seem to have a right balance in the midfield where we've gone through midfields like Aaron Ramsey and Granit Xhaka. And remember the games I get out at Anfield where you're suddenly seeing one like totally in the other half, and then the other one is like literally in our half, and you're literally thinking there's so much space between these midfielders.
Yeah,
and
there's so much space in the lines.
Yeah, that's it, and you just suddenly think that midfield just not balanced.
But now, in terms of the midfield, now everyone is covering each other's backs.
Yeah.
So if one of the midfielders is out of position, you've got one of the wingers coming in, sort of just covering that area, so they can't get into our channels.
Yeah, no, it's looking a lot better, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we're all more assured. I think as Arsenal fans, and you're looking at the team, and it's just nice to be relevant. It's nice to be talking about Arsenal and being relevant again. It's nice to be watching games like Chelsea and West Ham and not really caring about the outcome or the result because it don't really affect us. You know what I mean? It's just
at the moment we're more as Arsenal fans. At the moment, we're more focused on the Man City games at the moment because of the gap between us and them. Because we are the two ones at the top that are fighting for it at the moment.
Yeah. I know.
Everyone from third downwards were like, yeah, okay, like, we're not really bothered about them.
Yeah, I only switched.
I have to say, sorry, I was going to say, I have to say that I wasn't really focusing on anyone. Kind of like key matches were against Man United, to see where we were, and when we went on, we played them down the road at home and away. For me, the away was more important because of what happened. Again, we came to that point last season where it's just, and 2 mistakes and we was out of it. And there's quickly. So I went. My brother and I, we went to see the last match of the season, and then they didn't show it. So then we ended up going to off Finsbury Park. So we went to that pub. We saw the match, but then they were see and whoever was challenging them, things Liverpool. And I was thinking, this is we were watching 2 teams and no one's showing our matches, and I made my way back to my parents' house, and the wrong part of North London, let's say, they were living in the wrong part of North London. And I got off the bus and I thought, you know what? If I walk past that pub, so I'm gonna go around. I took around the side street, went around the side street, and I was 500 yards away from the front door, and this car just drew up next to me. He was a Spud fan, and he said to me, mate, you nearly made it. You nearly maybe never. And I was thinking, of all the people to come across, he had as he was about to drive off, I said, you watch us next season. I said to him, you watch us next season. He heard that, and he said, well, that's what you've been saying for the last few seasons. And then with that, he'd gone off. So we are now. I'd love to, well, maybe I wouldn't love to see it. I wanted to do our business, but their ground and our ground. So I'd love to see him, just to say, look, we put to the sword twice, and you know what I mean. So yeah, that's where we are, and I just feel that keep our powder dry, in a sense as well. But yeah, it's not easy being an Arsenal fan. But this season, other than the 2 matches, I did last night. I did look at Man City because how Notts Forest, they've been unbeatable at home. For Man City to go there on their form, and they could have lost the match. And Notts Forest came away with a draw at home. I think that could have been us. That could have been, but it is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think well, we've got to go there, haven't we? So we know from the FA Cup last year that it's a rowdy place to go to. So yeah, it's going to be one of those crucial away games that we need to get sorted. But yeah, 15 games left.
It goes quickly. It goes quickly when you're goal down, and you got about 10 minutes. You're not sure how the time the ref is going to play on. You know what I mean? So that's when you start, you suppose, overreacting rather than trying to raise. I feel what we did against Man City. So to go back on, we played the occasion rather than played to our strengths. I think if we kept up, if we could come back into that game, I would have been happy with a draw. But it is what it is. Where we are now, we're 2 points ahead. We just have to take one game at, take the chances when they come, and don't look back. Just take, every match we play when they come, and literally every match put the team to
game by game. Game by game.
Yeah.
That's Arteta's look, and that's it. Treat every game as the next and the most important.
Do you know what? To be honest, I think that's where Arsenal's been making a mistake for some years. Look at the first game, but then they would think 4 games ahead, thinking, that should be 3 points, that should be points, might be a draw there. But they wasn't taking one game at a time. But now, where we're taking one game at a time, we seem to be getting the results. We've won more away games this season than we have done the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our away form is now starting to decreasing, but our home form has always been the same.
Yeah. No, that's it. We lost 9 games last year, and yeah, to won only 9.
And this season so far, we've only
8,
lost 3.
Yeah. So we lost 8.
So-
Sorry, we lost 9. We won 8 and drew 1 last year, and
Yeah.
already past that. So yeah, onwards and upwards. Conversation Club said, yeah, does the panel believe the team can finish the season without Partey? I don't think it's. I think that's just a hypothetical one, but I think he's only out for a few days. I don't think it's a big one. I think maybe he may miss Leicester, but he'll be back for Everton.
Yeah.
But what do you reckon? If there was a long-term injury, have we got the cover?
I think that Partey would do whatever it takes, because the more solidified the team is, and Jorginho again scored his second match in, and he didn't, like you guys are observed against Man City, so the more solidifying he becomes, and Partey's thinking, no, I need to be back in there because I'm anyway. Every place should be competition, So maybe of course Arteta would gradually, and whether it's Europa League or whatever, but you any longer than need be. And I think that Partey is still crucial to us, as I mentioned earlier on this platform. If you look at the win, it's there. It's there now. Jorginho has flipped the script, so now it becomes great. We got cover, but now it's competition. When you're on form, your manager doesn't want to rock the boat too much. The last thing you want to do is give a manager should have a headache anyway. But when a player that comes in on the peripheral, and now 2 matches in, he hasn't had a bad a bad run so far, then it becomes okay. So how long can this be? And the team's won. Winner stays on. For Arteta to sort out, but I think Partey will be itching of that recovery table.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. I think Thomas Partey is going to be itching to get back into the starting 11 when he gets back. But going to the question, like, can we finish without Thomas Partey? You never know. You don't know what's around the corner. He could potentially get injured again. You just don't know. But I think even if he did get injured and it was long term, I think we could have do without him, because now we've got a replacement in Jorginho, which, touch wood, at the moment, he hasn't put a foot wrong at the moment. But there is going to be games within the season where we are going to need Thomas Partey to give Jorginho a rest or make him come on from the bench. So there is going to be games where we are going to need him. But every position in the squad is competition for all the players. No set position is given. But if Thomas Partey wants to come back into the squad, he needs to fight Jorginho for
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? It's just, yeah, he probably will, knowing how Thomas Partey is, he probably will just come straight in anyway. And I think that's it. I mean, yeah, we still need to give that competition. You still got to earn that place, but I think there's a couple of players there that as soon as they're back, they'll be in there. And he's one of them. I think that's just one of it. It's the same with like.
Well, Paul, obviously we know that Thomas Partey is Mikel Arteta's first choice in the starting 11. We already know it's been given when the starting 11 has come out. He hasn't really changed him at all in that defensive midfield. It's always been the same midfield every week in terms of the Premier League because it's balanced. That's the reason why, because it's balanced. But with Jorginho, in the way he's playing at the moment, Partey should be looking at it thinking, right, I now need to get from the training and show Mikel Arteta that I should be the one in that position and not him.
Yeah. Well, it's raising games, it's raising levels, isn't it? And this is what I said about that kind of raising the bar. And
that's how some players get better, because you're helping each other to achieve the highest possible level that you can be.
Yeah, exactly. And that competition breeds competition at the end of the day, and that's it. It's one of those, and we've got to just improve that competition across the whole pitch. And it's the same with Tomiyasu and Ben White. Ben White playing unbelievably well on the right back. Tomiyasu now, after having a really good start to his career, now finds himself on the bench. And you're suddenly thinking, he's now got to raise his game a little bit. He had a couple of shaky performances, but then it was the injury that he obviously come out of the team, didn't he? He wasn't dropped through bad performances, but again, he's finding that level after the injury, and he's got to find it.
Even sometimes with players having an injury, sometimes they're never the same when they come back. It does depend on how serious the injury is.
Yeah, of course. Like we know so much about injuries at the minute, and these career kind of like ones. And look, and we talk about like the times gone by, and we talk about the midfield, and we suddenly think about Wenger and the challenges he had every year to put a competitive team or squad to challenge for getting into the Champions League or whatever to keep us in there. He has a replacement for years, Diaby, who then obviously has that break. And but that was, again, you're talking about successors, and someone's come in and then play year upon year, and you're suddenly thinking that's a bit another bad luck when you suddenly just think, well, that must have really hurt him, Wenger, in those following years, because again, you pick up a little gem, you pick up a player like him, and then he just is injured. Then it's like, oh, okay, I'm just got to sell another player anyway, and then it's another part or another ingredient of his squad. And I don't know. I think we've been unlucky. I think with injuries, certainly through the years. And again, it's only a matter of time until potentially someone else goes. And we talk about the protection of Saka, lack of protection on Saka, and you're suddenly thinking there's something else big that's going to come, because he gets wronged more than he actually gets, doesn't he? It's like, man, he's like made out to be. He's on.
I don't think there's enough protection for him.
No,
I really don't think there is.
No.
When you look at Jack Grealish, and every time he picks the ball up, there is always a foul. It don't matter how little or slight, and he throws himself to the floor or whatever. There is always a foul coming or a free kick. When Saka does exactly the same or similar, even in the box, nothing. Carry on. Just it's just frighteningly bad. I don't know. It's not. If it isn't a foul and he's on the floor, then he should have about 7 yellow cards for diving. And what happened to that rule? Yeah. You get booked for diving, and that's it. If it's not a penalty, then you get booked. So we work it out. It makes no sense. But yeah, we need protection. So yeah, I think, lads, we've reached the end. I'm talked out. There's been some great views and some great bit of stuff in the chat. It's really good. Let's say I could do another 2 hours just going through the chat. But yeah, obviously have a read of the comments going down. There's lots of stuff about the points and stuff to win the title. So thanks.
To be honest, I actually think we honestly can win the league. I think we can.
Yeah. Well, look, we're there by merit. So if we didn't think we could do it, then it's pointless. We might as well not bother. Yeah, might as well not turn up and support your team. But yeah, we definitely have that chance. And
I say win it, but we have to, as I mentioned earlier, and alluded to do it game by game. We have to take the chances that come. If we take it game by game, if we win, and as well, just nothing wrong with being confident, but not being too confident. Back, the fans got to back the team, and the team has backed each other. What I like to see is when our players surround the player, and also the person who will create the foul has been part of us for the longest time. But you can see now that we are more of a team now, and we look out for each other as well. And the fans are the 12th man. Potential to end the season in a really good place. Pragmatic, we're going to take it game by game, and let's just make sure that when we have those chances, this is leaders and losers. The leaders, they take the chance to find a way to win. So now, I was saying the same thing yesterday. I said that to Alex, and I said to Alex, I said, well, no, not yet. So, okay, we're just, we've just gone past one, but we're consistent as we go on, and then we see where the chips lay at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, that's it. We've just got to do it game by game, don't we? And just we'll see where we go. And it's a great time to be a Gooner. It's been a great time.
Yeah, it is.
One last thing,
especially with the amount of heartache we've had over the years. Yeah.
Oh, it's been horrendous. One bit of housekeeping. It's a weekly thing. Des, who is absent today, always says a hello to Conversation Club's mum. Always loves Des, loves the enforcer. So, Sue, Des says hello. Hope you're well and have a good one. So, yeah, pass it on, and yeah, I'm sure he'll be back next week. So, yeah, it's all good. But seriously, there's been really lots of good stuff. Yeah, FA Cup youth match on Thursday at the Emirates as well. Emerson watching. Thanks again for tuning in. There's so much.
Yeah.
There's a load of comments about loan signings as well on here, and I don't know. Do we do it? Do we have a quick one? I'm just going to go into this Marquinhos one. Conversation Club. Just quick. This is the final one. Yeah, we've just signed Marquinhos, but we then loan him out. It makes no sense. What do you guys think of Marquinhos? I know personally from me, he is one for the future.
Yeah,
100%. And I don't think we've seen the quality what is needed probably at this level, and that goes from even Europa League to to coming into the big bad Premier League, and I don't see the problem in that kind of that loan signing, and it was almost said about Coutinho as well, and these guys need to get a bit of strength, and they need to learn the hard graft and the hard way of our leagues, and
they need game time. That's what they need. They need game time to improve. So to be honest, with Marquinhos, we've only seen him play a couple of games in the league, and to be honest, he's a quality player. But at the moment, I don't think that he fits in with what Mikel Arteta wants at the moment, at this time. But I think with Marquinhos, he's definitely one for the future. And I think as he gets better, then we will see what type of play he can bring to the team.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's all about, again, confidence. It's all about, really understanding what you're stepping into. You know what I mean? You're playing against some big defenders, and you're suddenly thinking, can he make a difference? And you're just thinking, no. At this minute, I don't think there's enough in him to merit game time. Certainly when we're talking about drop-offs. So, what about you, Ralph? What are your thoughts on him? I know he's been on loan. He's at Norwich, but he hasn't played. It's at the minute, so I'm not sure whether or not he's got an injury or anything like that, or what. But I don't know. It's a bit weird.
Fully spec'd on Marquinhos at the moment. I just hope that he's been looked after in the right way as well. And when it comes to our loanees, I'm sure what the kind of specifications are in terms of how often do we keep in contact with them, find out about their well-being, if there's anything that they need from us, because of course it's their responsibility to make sure that the player is looked. I'm not sure what kind of communication there is in that, but definitely that he's at least he's regular in terms of playing. If he is injured, that he doesn't lose heart, because it's quite easy to you're not under the gaze of anyone from the main team. You've got to focus on the only way you can get yourself back is by being on the pitch. So holistically, he is okay, and I hope that we are looking out for him from our end of things. Reports in and he tells the guys, I'm good, or I'm injured, or whatever. My perspective, I just hope that we are looking out for him.
Yeah, no, I agree, but say it's I mean, there's so many viewpoints on it. Again, academy players, they're academy players. They're not. That doesn't mean that every academy player is going to be at that level to go and play first team football. And it's what I said. Right, buying someone. Again, you're buying someone from somewhere else for a little bit of money, who is still a good academy player. There's obviously a reason why you're buying these players, because maybe that in that academy you haven't got that type of player in your academy that will probably do the job that you want them to do. There's a profile.
Yeah.
So we've obviously got to choose who we get. And obviously if there is someone there with a good reputation, then you're going to snap them up. But that thing just takes a bit of time, doesn't it? It's that kind of bedding in.
Yeah.
As a youngster, moving to a new country and everything like that. And it's even like Martinelli. Martinelli had a huge kind of learning curve, certainly dealing with moving to England with his family, and just again growing up and just actually bulking out a little bit, and maybe just getting a little bit of the rough and tumble of our league. It's a big step.
Yeah.
But I think we're done, boys. I think we are done now. 2 hours and 3 minutes.
Because I spent the other 45.
Everyone watching on the chat, brilliant, really good stuff, and some really good stuff. Richard, really good points and views, mate. Good to have you on. Ralph, we finally got you talking. You were like a free flame for
I
about
appreciate that.
minutes. We thought we just had a picture of Ralph on our screen.
Yeah.
So it's good to see you and nice to speak to you. Yeah, no, it's all good.
Much appreciated.
No, it's good, mate. Have you on more? Are you doing a watch along this week?
Trying to sort out time with work, because my work is very cross. If I can sort it out, I'll let Alex know, and then if I'm doing it, then there will be But I've got myself penned in for maybe next month. But if I can, then I'll let you guys know for sure.
Perfect. All right, there you go, Conversation Club. Stay tuned. So yeah, that was the end, or sorry, that is the end of the Big Sunday show. So yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. And
Nice one, guys.
it's good. So
And up the Arsenal.
Look, big game.
Big game.
It's the next one.
Another big game.
Another big away game.
Another one.
Oh. Take care, Gooners. And yeah, up the Arsenal.